Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. Now, to me, what is just as interesting is why Coach K is leaving. And I immediately recognized why, because to me, it is the same reason that Roy Williams retired. It is the same reason that Urban Meyer announced that there was interest from the University of Texas in Urban Meyer. And it's because college sports are changing very fast. And I don't know that a lot of these guys that have been old school, that have been in this thing for 30, 40, 50 years, they want to stay for the next iteration of college sports. And that's not a criticism. That's not me tearing down Coach K. That's not me saying that Coach K makes $10 million a year. He can share a little bit with the players. It's just a fact. It is just a fact of reality that college athletics is changing really quick. Now, in Coach K's case, I do think the timing is very interesting, as June 1st was, of course, the first time that you can bring players on campus. I give credit to The Athletic, who were the first one to report kind of like, look, he's now starting to sit down with recruits in the class of 2022, 2023, 2024, and he realized, like, do I want to be here when you're a junior? Do I want to be here when I'm a senior? And I think it really hit him in the last week, like, oh, this recruiting thing is starting over again. And yeah, I'm going to sign my one and dones, but am I really going to be here in 4 years? And so that was part of it. But the bigger part of it is what I said. It's what I said, which is the idea that the college sports landscape is changing so fast and so furious. Not only does it not look now, not only in 2 years is it not going to look like what it looks like now, it doesn't even look like what it looked like 2 years ago, and it is going to change monumentally over the next couple years. The first thing is the one-time transfer rule, okay? One-time transfer rule, I've talked about it at length. You guys know where I stand. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for a college athlete to have to, stick around if things don't go well and work through adversity. I also don't think it's the worst thing where if a kid does transfer, he sits out. I've had Obi Toppin on this show. He talked about how valuable sitting out for a season was. He wasn't a redshirt, but he was an academic redshirt. He wasn't a transfer, I should say. He was an academic redshirt. Malachi Flynn, Duncan Robinson, who's balling in the NBA. There's a lot of guys that have sat out for a year after transferring. It didn't kill him. But think about it from Coach K's perspective. He spends 2 or 3 years. He identifies the top 4, 5, 6 sophomores in high school basketball that he potentially wants to recruit, okay? They all come in. He spends 3 years recruiting them. He flies all over the country. He has to get up to watch a high school practice. He gets back. He runs his own practice. He gets back on a plane, watches them play that night. He signs that kid, brings him to campus. Mom, Dad, we're going to take care of your son as if he's our own. 6 games in, 10 games in, kid doesn't like his role and decides to leave. And there's nothing the coach can do. And I'm not saying for the millionth time there are not good reasons to transfer. But just think about it from this perspective, okay? This offseason, Duke had a couple players transfer. First of all, they had 4 players transfer. Now, two of them had the extra year of eligibility. So it wasn't as though they're just leaving for the sake of leaving. But the other 2 left for, are you ready for this? Texas A&M and Ole Miss. And I know we got some A&M fans that listen. I know we got some Ole Miss fans that listen. So this is no disrespect towards your school. But think about Coach K putting in 3 years' worth of work to recruit a kid. And then the kid comes in and says, you know what? I'm not really happy here. So I'm going to go to Texas A&M. And you're like, what are you doing? Like I know I'm really sorry that I didn't play you. And for the record, there are legitimate reasons for kids to transfer, and some of it is on Coach K or any coach because he's going to continue to recruit players at your position to compete with you. But imagine if you're Coach K. You go into kids' home. If you're good enough to come to Duke, that means Coach K believes you're good enough to play at Duke and play in the NBA. And Coach K goes into your home, and he says, this is what I want to do. I don't know if it's going to be a one-and-done type deal, but give it 2 or 3 years. I've seen kids just like you. Work with me. We'll get through it. We're going to be fine. You're going to get a great education in the process. And after a year, the kid's like, I'm going to go to A&M. And it's like, there's no disrespect to A&M, but there is more interest in Coach K's pinky finger in Duke basketball than there is in A&M basketball. And so think about it from Coach K's perspective. He's like, why am I wasting my time when not only do I have to recruit the one and dones, not only do I have to recruit the great players that are going to leave after 1 year, I now have to worry about recruiting guys that are just going to leave because they don't like their role, or after a week they got tired of it. You know, like I'd be kind of, if I had been doing things one way for 35 years and it just changed overnight, yeah, like I'd be kind of like, do I want to keep doing this as well? On top of that, the name, image, likeness stuff. You guys know where I stand on this. This is no disrespect. It's not about holding down kids and not giving them something. That's not what it's about. What it's about is think about how different Coach K's job is going to be just 2 or 3 years from now as opposed to what it is now. Again, you go into a kid's home. Son, I think you're good enough to play at Duke. I think you're good enough to the NBA. We're going to help you get to the NBA as fast as we possibly can. In the process, you're going to get a great education, first-class facilities, best weight training in the world, best meal prep in the world. You're going to get money for cost of attendance, so come here, come be at Duke. One, you got to worry about re-recruiting your players every year because of the one-time transfer rule, and I think that's a big part of the reason why Coach K, Roy Williams, these guys are like, I don't want to have to re-recruit my whole roster every year. But now, on top of selling the school and the academics and the NBA pedigree, and this is what we do with nutrition, and this is what we do with weight training, this is what we do with this. Now, on top of selling all that to mom and dad, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have an agent in the room saying, well, yeah, but you got last year's number one freshman in America. You got him a commercial with Gatorade. Or you got him a commercial with Nike, or you got him a commercial with Durham Auto Center. Are you going to do that for my kid? Because North Carolina offered this, because Indiana offered that, because NC State, well, wait till I tell you what they offered. And Coach K is like, what am I doing? Think about where Coach K came from to where Coach K is now. In 1980, Coach K was selling, come here for 4 years, you're going to get a world-class degree, and 4 years from now, we will have you ready for the NBA. I still remember in 1999, when Elton Brand, William Avery, and Corey Maggette, and for the young folks, look those kids up, when they all decided to leave before their 4 years of eligibility were done. It was the first time ever that players left Duke without finishing up 4 years and getting their degree. Grant Hill, who is one of the greatest maybe basketball players ever born, stayed 4 years at Duke. Christian Laettner, maybe the greatest player in the history of college basketball, stayed at Duke. And it was a big story. Like, it was like, oh my God, even Duke lost guys early to the NBA. Like, that was huge 20 years ago. It was huge to just lose a player before their 4 years were up. Now, you got to re-recruit players every year. You spend 3, 4, 5 years recruiting them. You got to re-recruit them once they get to campus, make sure they're not ready to transfer every 2 seconds. And you got to worry about paying them, and you got to worry about agents, and you got to worry about this. I don't blame Coach K for leaving. And to me, and I've talked about it before, but I'm going to keep harping on it because I think this is a huge story. College athletics is changing rapidly, and I do think that the guys that have been around forever are kind of looking around saying, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want to be a part of this? And it's not just Coach K. Roy Williams retired this summer. And as I mentioned a minute ago, Urban Meyer, also, he had the opportunity to be the head coach at the University of Texas. And he said, I don't care how much money you want to pay me. I'm 55 years old. I've won 3 national championships. I've done it my way forever. Now, every single year, I got to go recruit as hard as I've recruited, deal with the boosters, deal with the media, win 11 or 12 games, and I got to come back and re-recruit all my own players this year, and I got to worry because the starting left tackle got a TV commercial, but my starting right tackle didn't. He's like, I'm good. I don't want to be a part of that. And I do think as we move on, I don't want to say there's going to be a disinterest in college athletics because there always will be. We're always going to watch March Madness. We're always going to watch our team in college basketball. We're always going to watch Notre Dame in football and LSU, Alabama, and the Iron Bowl and Florida, Georgia, and whatever. And I do think, by the way, unrelated, I think gambling is going to help. We're all going to have a couple bucks on the game in a couple years. We're going to have 25 bucks on the USC, UCLA college basketball game on Thursday night with Bill Walton. But I do think it's changing really quick. And I do think the guys that have legitimate options, the really elite coaches, they're sitting there and saying, like, I don't want to be a part of this. The old guys are saying, I'm just going to retire. And I think the young guys, it is going to be more of a legitimate thing to just go from college to the pros. So let's go back for the young people that are new to this whole thing. 25 years ago, if you were coaching in college and you wanted to go to the pros, it was almost a no-brainer. Go to the pros because the money was better, all that stuff. Then about 10, 12 years ago, the money started getting so good in college athletics that these college football and basketball coaches are like, why would I go to the pros? I'm the head coach at Syracuse basketball or North Carolina basketball or Duke basketball or Alabama football or Florida football. Why would I go to the NFL? They're paying me $7 million a year down here. I'm basically an icon. I can stay as long as I want, or I can go make $7.5 million to be the coach of the Colts and get fired in 3 years. I'm good. I'm staying here. But what I do believe is going to happen is we are now going to see a migration back up to the pros. We saw it with Urban Meyer. Could have gone to Texas. I think in the coming years, whether it is the young college basketball coaches that are coming up, whether it is whoever, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, whether it is Ryan Day in football, whether it is Dan. Did you notice how Dan Mullen's name, he was a candidate for literally every NFL coaching job this offseason? It wasn't because those schools were interested in Dan Mullen. It was because Dan Mullen was like, I don't know if I want to do this college thing anymore. Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley, I expect it to be the same because just think about it from the college coach's perspective, okay? You're Ryan Day, you're Lincoln Riley. Even you're young too, 38. You remember you weren't in college that long ago. But now you're sitting there and saying this. If I go to the pros, first of all, I get my summers off. I don't have to recruit all year round. But if I go to the pros and a guy gives me a commitment that he'll be with my organization for 3 years, he's going to be there 3 years. You know why? Because it's called a contract. And you can't break a contract when you're in the NFL. So I can go to the pros, have guys under contract. If there's an agent involved, my GM is dealing with it. I can focus on coaching football. And then, oh, by the way, guess what? I got all summer off to hang out, be with the family, go to the beach, do whatever. And then mid-July hits, we go to training camp, all that stuff. Or I can stay in college where I'm still going to have to deal with agents, where I'm still going to have to, recruit kids and sell them on this auto dealership or this burger shack or whatever is going to pay you. On top of that, if it doesn't go well, I got to re-recruit you and convince you to stay. You're probably going to leave anyway. I got to replace you. I don't know how, so I got to go to the transfer portal. And on top of all that, you don't get any time off. Because think about the college sports calendar right now. College basketball. March Madness ends. What did we talk about even before the tournament ended? We talked portal. So you recruit the portal all April, May, and then what happens? By the way, we got a lot of Kentucky fans that listen to this show. What did Kentucky do all April and May? Recruited the portal. What did John Calipari do the second it went from May 1st to June 1? Had to start recruiting the 2022 and 2023 kids. So when do you get time off if you're – it never ends. And so I am just telling you, people don't realize it. We are in the middle of a very interesting time in college sports. Not saying it's good, not saying it's bad, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. What I am saying is it is changing rapidly, and I think the guys that have real options are going to look elsewhere. The older guys, Coach K, who knows how much money Coach K's made, but Coach K's made hundreds of millions. But, whoever. I'm Michael Smith at this school. I've made $50 million. I don't have to work. I'm going to retire. Or I'm like 38. I've made $15 million, $5 million a year for the last 3 years to be Ryan Day, Lincoln Riley, or whoever. And I can make another $15 million stressed out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Or I can go make the same amount of money in the NFL, 7-year contract. I get paid out $35 million either way. And so I just think it's interesting. I think it's worth watching. I think Coach K is the latest example of this. I really do. It started, in my opinion, the first time I noticed it was with Urban Meyer. This most recent coaching cycle where Dan Mullen was a candidate for every job, where Ryan Day was at least talked about in other jobs. And now it's happening in college basketball where Roy Williams is out, Coach K is out, and we'll see what's next. Finally, what I would say is this. Let's talk about what is next to do. Coach K will coach this year. I guess in theory it's the first era of the one-time transfer rule, the first year of the one and done, the one-time transfer and the name, image, likeness stuff. and then he's out. And he's got a really good team this year, and I don't blame him. I'd want to coach Paolo Banchero as well. By the way, I didn't even mention that you recruit a kid now in college basketball, and you have them ready to go. You've made all these promises, and then the G League swoops in at the last minute and takes a kid. So that's another thing that college basketball coaches have to deal with. And by the way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you lost a kid to the G League on April 14th that you thought was going to be your best player. Your fan base still expects you to win next year.